Do I look crazy? Am I okay?
Oh, I just hit record and then you pointed the camera at your crotch.
You should just keep it. The birthplace of human connection is vulnerability. It's a willingness to be open, to let some walls down, and authentically connect with you and you to me.
Just so you know, the reason I'm creating this Let's Be Real thing is because I think the way social media is going and everyone on the digital landscape, the people that are real are coming to the top. And I think we're all in this digital world and we need to find the ones that are real and kind of bring them to light. And so every day I have conversations with awesome people, including yourself, and I walk away from them like, holy shit, like, why can't everyone experience this? So this is not a recording. This is just a conversation that we can talk about anything, but I do want the people walking away from this to get value from. So for those of you who don't know who Jen is, I think in bullet points. So I wrote a few bullet points down of like who Jen is to me, okay?
Wait, let me get ready. I'm ready.
I do want to say, you're a fitness icon. Way back, Kansas star, Kansas University. Is it
University of Kansas? Yep. But you can just say Kansas. You just can't say Kansas State.
Okay. You shot put?
Hammer throw?
Rower, and then hammer throw.
Failed rower turned hammer thrower. Yeah.
Was it failed or bailed?
I think it's a little of both. I just wasn't any good. I improved really well and I worked really hard, and I still was one of the worst on the team. And so the rowing coach and the throws coach, Doug, knew each other, and Doug saw me training. Is like, wow, she must be great. And the rowing coach said, not really. So then Doug saw something in me, believed in me. I walked on, ended up earning a scholarship, and then placed at Big 12s, went to regionals, then nationals. So it was nice that it had a happy ending on the throwing team. Although nice. I met some of my best friends on the planet Earth on the rowing team. So there you go.
That brings me to a good point. This recording is sponsored by Doug. All thanks to him.
He would love to hear you say that. He'll watch this.
American Gladiator, and I can say that because it's my personal channels. Biggest Loser star, and the only one to do it 2 seasons, the only female to do it 2 seasons back to back, other than, I won't even say her name. Shape, Dr. Oz. I mean, every time I see you're leading people through, thousands of women through New York on a marathon or half marathon. It's crazy. But I think the 2 bullet points that I think are most important are friend and game changer. And the reason I say game changer is because I see your name, I hear your name, I see your face, and you're everywhere. Just a real life example, we had a social media CEO come into Reebok, and he was speaking, he randomly mentioned your name. I was like, holy shit, she is everywhere. So you're always pushing the envelope. And I think that leads me into kind of why I'm doing this is, for me and myself, I need to just start to learn. I need to be less strategic and start to actually execute and do things. So I'm just, let's be real in this video thing is, I just need to do something. So we started on Instagram, now we're on Zoom, and I'm just learning as we go. And so my question to you, in everything that I've said from Kansas to now, American Gladiator, what really kind of made you feel something in the heart? Or what was the most pivotal point in your kind of career that really was that game changer?
I think it was a combination of 2, and it's so hard. Everyone's like, what's the moment? What was the thing? And I think a lot of times in movies, they glamorize there was this one moment or that first kiss. And I think sometimes we do get to experience those moments, and sometimes they're a broader stroke. One key moment, I moved to LA. I was barely making any money. The money I'd saved to spend there was going quickly. And I remember I had I mean, I'd gone to get like a Starbucks, and I was like wondering if I had enough money to pay for like the coffee I was getting. You know, I'm like, if I do this here, can I do the other things I need to do in the day? Is there gas in my car? Stuff like that. And there was this woman I ran into. Her name is Darnella Ford, and I guess I probably looked like I'd been crying because she asked me if I was okay. So we'll just say that. And I just started to kind of open up, and we talked, and she bought me my coffee. And I just said, I'm just ready. Just kind of like you started to say, Andrew, you're like, I'm ready to like do more and execute. And I kind of said to her, I'm ready to plug in. I'm and this is, by the way, after American Gladiators. So I'm graduated from Kansas after American Gladiators. I'm there trying to figure it out. I've made some money. I've spent some money, and I'm just stuck. And I'm like, I want to plug in. What am I supposed to be doing? And she just said, did it ever occur to you that who you are is your purpose? It's not what you do, it's who you are. And for the first time, I stopped seeing my place on this planet is not a title or a role or a paycheck, but as a person. And when I start taking the pressure off of the ultimate, like I have to be that, and therefore finally once that happens, I will be valuable. I'm like, every day I wake up, that is my purpose. The fact that I got to write a book, the fact that I got to be in Biggest Loser, the fact that I got to meet you, that's all stuff I get to do living my purpose as Jen. So that kind of changed my direction in the day. Didn't matter if how many likes I get on a picture, or if I signed a big contract for a bigger deal or whatever it is. I get to be Jen every day, and that will never change as long as I show up. So I know it sounds kind of a little bit convoluted, but that was a primary game changer for me. Gosh, early 2009, probably. Yeah. And then I think the other moment is some years after that, I didn't want to be a trainer, and people kept asking me to train them. And I was basically just teaching group classes so I could have a free membership at the gym I was working at, and which I was reluctant to. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. I just want to swipe people in. Can I just swipe and like, hi, and like, and greet? And Mark Herrera, the owner of Pulse, said, who you've met, Andrew, said, no, you're going to really be good at this. And so he convinced me to start teaching classes. And my classes started getting really full. And then they started asking me to train them. I was like, oh, I'm not a trainer. I'm like, and I started doing it for free. Fast forward, I started working with people so much. And what was crazy is it's, of course, gratifying as any coach in any sport or in any field. Like if you're teaching me a foreign language and I learned something, it's gratifying as the teacher. You know what I mean? But what blew my mind wasn't the gratification I saw in their change. What blew me away was the way it affected me. I felt valuable. Yes. I felt capable. Yes. But I didn't realize how powerful we can affect people through these other vehicles, because it was never about the waistline. It was never about, David Jack will say it, like, he's like, do you really think it's their biceps holding them back? Do you really think it's like their bench press? Or is there something greater going on? And it never occurred to me till years into training that it was more than the workout. And when I start to feel like it affected me, and even on Biggest Loser, their eye contact, their eyes lift off the ground, they're more open in conversation, they have the courage to cook a meal, which they've never done before. I didn't realize how powerful that was. Now for me, health, fitness, wellness, communication like that, that's my vehicle. A lot of people use other vehicles. Steve Jobs used technology, right? But I love that I found a vehicle that I felt was so powerful, far beyond what I initially thought it was. And that to me was like, no matter what happens or where it goes, I will, you know what I mean? It was never about getting a Biggest Loser. It was never about getting a book. I just wanted to take that and maximize the reach.
Yeah. I think what's interesting is you said who you are is your purpose. Did I say that right?
Yep.
For me, deep down, and I'm sure there's other people that feel this way too, but like deep down, I feel like I'm a great person. So if you were to say who you are, like I am great. I think I have a great purpose, but for so long, I've even been the one wanting to be a swiper. So like, and whether it's because of fear of like, what if I get turned down, or fear of, what if someone makes fun of me? So maybe that's why I was a swiper for so long. Or what if it's just not having the tools or resources? So what made you become, what pushed you to go to LA? And then what
Mm.
pushed you to become a swiper to a coach? Like, well, I guess start with like, what was holding you back? Why did you want to be a swiper and not a coach or trainer? Like, was it fear? Was it just
It just didn't
complacency?
occur to me that I'd be any good. You know, I think it's a responsibility and a duty to be there for people in a quality way, especially when someone, I mean, of course, there's the financial commitment, but people are coming to us as fit professionals for real answers and real solutions, and they're putting their heart and their pride and their guts on the line.
Yeah.
And that's scary. And it just didn't occur to me. I mean, I think I'm a natural coach. Both my coaches, my parents are coaches. I started coaching gymnastics when I was a young woman. And so I think it's part of me. Um, I just, I think there was a pivotal moment, and her name's Melanie. I was working out in a class, and it was a boxing class, and she kind of was getting confused. And I'm like, come here, come here, come here. Pulled her aside. And I'm like, think of it this way. And she got it, and she was off to the races. I forgot I did anything, started going, and she, after class, she goes, you really helped me, thank you, will you
Yeah.
train me? I was like, are you crazy? Yeah, that was just for fun, you know what I mean? So it was funny, I just didn't occur to me, that's what held me back.
Yeah.
I didn't see that I would be any good until someone showed me the difference I made, you know.
So,
And I
yeah.
had to believe her too. I had to
Yeah.
believe her. That
No,
was tough.
I think that, what I heard out of that was like confidence. And that hits
Yeah.
home to me because right now I'm not very good at camera skills, or being on the camera. And I think it's so funny. We were talking about this somebody in the gym the other day, like this one coach at the gym here in Shanghai. He's really smart, really insightful, can make eye contact, can talk about myofascial release and mobility and how strength play.
Yeah.
And like, it's just like, holy shit. It's like, quit. You put him on camera and he's like,
Really?
and so I think that's sort of the phase I'm in. I'm kind of going from a swiper to, trying to get that confidence in myself to be on camera. And for so long, and I feel the same kind of need to, like, if someone clicks on a video to watch me doing anything, I don't want to waste their time. Just like a coach,
Okay.
like, you don't want to waste their time. You don't want to hurt them.
Okay, do you want a tip?
But I
This
need to
is
get better at it. So I'm just like, hey, like, I'm trying to build that confidence.
You're great. No, so here's the thing. You already have the confidence. And I can thank Biggest Loser for this. So my first year, cameras everywhere, contestants are going, I don't know what's happening, but I knew if I got tight and I got worried and I stayed on, like Miss Perfect, they would say they would stay tight, they would stay on, and they would never receive the coaching and the support
Yeah.
they really needed from me. So I thought, if you make the camera exist and affect the way I am to them, it will
Yeah.
affect my ability to service them. So same way, if you tighten up, if you change, you're not going to provide what you know you can.
Yeah.
So like I literally,
You don't,
I did it.
you're
I
always
mean,
Jen.
what I would do though, this is so funny. So especially every season now, to get the contestants to loosen up, I'll just like swear. I'm like, oh, it's effing hot outside. And they're like, oh, that was on camera. I go, oh, they'll cut it. It's fine. And they're like, I'm like, yeah, we're filming for hundreds of hours a week. They're going to cut out my F-bomb. And so the more I let go, or I would like
Yeah.
turn off the camera guy, they were like, oh, everything's not, ugh. And so the more I think you just know that, like, by you letting Andrew come through, people are going to hear the words better.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. Like,
Yeah.
it's literally, that makes sense for you.
It's funny. I was jotting down, and I remember us at Vegas.
Beam me back to that moment.
Oh man. I think that's the one thing I wanted to tell a story about you, where we brought you to a global event with the top leaders. And the one thing I took away I learned from you is you can still always be yourself. I mean, you were expected to deliver at a high level to the highest of high people. You packed one really hot dress, but other than that, and that was like that was on the last day. I don't even know if you really wore it, but you were always, I want to say dressing like a bum, but what I mean by, like, you were just sweats, you were leggings. I mean, you look great though, by the way.
Yeah. You look great for a bum, Jen.
Level of 1 to bomb, you were a gray bomb. Okay. You exceeded that level.
Yeah,
But,
got it. Copy.
you know, you still made, you can be you, be yourself, be real, and you still were able to connect to, like, the VP of Dick's was there, and the power of being yourself. And I think the power of touch, because and it's crazy talking to you here because, like, you want to probably just touch me.
I know, and I
like
keep
hug
doing this. I just keep touching myself.
So I guess one of the other questions I had was, what's the most effective way to communicate with people? And so I know you talked about, being real, forgetting there's all these exterior factors. How do you have this one skill to, like, really connect on a deeper level? And maybe it takes time, but what have you learned through your career? Like, what's the most important thing to really, like, connect with people?
It was talk less, listen more. That was a big changing point for me. I think that I felt uncomfortable with empty space. It felt like I had to impress or fill or carry the conversation. And the moment I started listening and reacting, it changed everything. Because even just now, right? Even just now, I said, because, and I kind of looked off to the side, and my nonverbals are telling you I'm thinking. If you do that and you pause and you look off and I jump in and I start talking, well, now I've interrupted your train of thought. Perhaps you were going to go somewhere more emotional. Perhaps you were going to share something you had not shared and you were considering sharing it. Whatever it is, I trashed it because I put me first. So I think that at the end of the day, the bigger concept is people mostly feel quite alone, like in their way of thinking, alone in is it weird that I feel this way about that movie? Is it weird that, they're going to make a trilogy of Obi-Wan Kenobi and that I feel like it's overkill? I don't want to say anything. I don't want people mad at me. It could be about anything, but they think they're alone in their thinking and their feeling, and that maybe it could be wrong. So I think it's giving people a safe place to land by listening, reacting thoughtfully. And because I think that we're suddenly in this big rush, and I kind of think, you know what? If someone's going to bulldoze you and they're not going to hear what you have to say, well, then they don't need to hear what you have to say. It's the people that are patient and are willing to listen. Like, you're such a great, you do so well at that, Andrew. I never feel like I have to impress you or check boxes or button it with a joke, because I know what I'm saying is enough because you're giving me the time to share. So that's all I can think of. Because like I said, I used to be a bulldozer, and I could see people shutting off, and I'm like, well, that's not what I want.
Yeah. And one of the kind of reasons I want to do this is I think the power of asking questions.
Yeah.
And I didn't really learn it until one of our, Chris Cardoza, we were on set and he goes, dude, like, I'm trying to get better at asking questions and interviewing. And I was like, is that a skill? You learned that? Like, and I was like, these are one of these things I'm probably really bad at and I didn't know I'm bad at, and I know I need to learn. And so I think the power of questions is really important. And it goes to, like, asking creative and thoughtful questions and making sure that you listen and you want to almost get the right question, the right answers out.
Yeah, that's where you have to trust your instincts. I mean, look at Howard Stern. I listen to him every morning because he knows where he's going. He's like, boom, boom, these are my 5 or 10 or whatever questions. But then as you say something, then he's like, oh, well, wait a second. And then he goes off into a path here. Then he's like, oh, wait. And then before you know it, they've gone really into depth about a category he probably wasn't on his list.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you took notes, you're like, oh, that made me think of something. So your instincts, I think great interviewers are great listeners.
Yeah. I think it goes hand in hand. So this leads me to and the power of communication, the power of listening, asking questions, which I think we were at the pool and where were we, in Vegas? Somebody had set you up on and this was way back. I don't know your current relationship status, so I don't want to throw you under the bus, but.
No, I'm single, but I'm trying to think when I was at a pool with you.
No, somebody was setting you on a blind date, or there was like, hey, I've got a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend you and me.
Yep, got it. I know who we're talking about.
And I remember you saying, like, you just kept flipping like asking questions, and you were like, you know, the power, like almost like answering a question within a question. And you have a good way of like,
by the way, this is the perfect time in this video to insert that scene from 40-Year-Old Virgin. She's like, we've got a great do-it-yourself section. He's like, do you like to do it yourself?
So you,
and everything she said, he just said a question. It's exactly, you're basically saying Steve Carell is our.
Are you saying you're a 40-year-old virgin? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, a 35-year-old one. No.
So you have a really great sense of knowing the situation you're in, whether it's getting set up on a really random blind date that obviously ended up not working out, to being in an interview or on the other side of a table with a brand or a TV show, sitting across from Dr. Oz. How do you use those different elements of communication, listening? How did you use that to get to where you are today? So if you had to give some tips of advice on, obviously we can say listen more, talk less, listen more, but those who listen less may not make it to a rough shape.
Three things that kind of got me to where I was.
Yeah.
Part of it, this whole thing that you've built is called Let's Be Real. It's because most people are not. Most people come in scripted. Most people come in tight. Most people don't give the other person anything to work with. So if I call in and you were really like not giving me anything, I would give you less.
Yeah.
So the more I can offer and and give in that situation, it lets people's guards down and it allows them to be as human as you are willing to be. It's like, I think when you enter any scenario that I know that I've been in, I always allow myself to be human, because I think it gives me an entry point for something greater.
Yeah.
I feel like I wrote a couple things down because I didn't want to forget. One thing I will tell you that is huge, and it was actually really great. A great trainer, Joe DeFranco, was at a men's event I did just a few weeks ago. But I think a lot of times people are operating with a cause and effect mindset. So that means, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, Z and to get on that TV show, or I'm going to do X, Y, Z to try and get these celebrity clients, or I'm going to do X, Y, Z. It's like, that's not really how it works. It was funny. Like Joe told the story of how he was always like, he would see, this is like, by the way, he's like, when MySpace was happening. Okay. So he would get these questions and then do the random camera and answer questions and put it on YouTube. And this was like 2001, 2003, really early. Well, meanwhile, a decade later, Triple H, the guy that owns like that. Yeah, and his wife, right?
Wait, Triple H is a wrestler.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And his the owner of the WWE, his daughter is married to him. I'm botching this. I think it's Triple H. But you can look up Joe DeFranco and his celebrity clients.
Yeah.
And so this wrestler was looking online, searching for information, and found Joe's stuff from a decade ago and used it, and it really helped him. So he ended up, calls Joe, is like, I want you to train me. Now, did you think Joe was sitting there in 2001 looking through MySpace comments thinking, one day I'm going to do this now so a celebrity finds it 10 years from now to hire me? No, he did it freely because he wanted to share the information because he felt people deserved it. He put it up, he shared it for free, and this is where he's at. It's not cause and effect. It's not going to be linear. The amount of things and conversations and relationships I've had, like meeting Dick. I met Dick, who's the former CEO of Twitter, through Julie Fouché. We have coffee. We talk about all these ideas. I'm like, great meeting you. Always, he's become a friend. Yeah. He's a great consultant for me on things and vice versa. And the fact that he goes to Reebok and makes him look like a rock star because he puts me in a speech in front of you guys, was I thinking, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to meet with Dick because at one point he's going to go to Reebok and he's going to say my name. It's not cause and effect. So you just have to be great at what you do and do it because you love doing it and let the rest play out.
Yeah.
Because we all get to where we are because we show up every day, not just for the effect.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
No, and I think too, before you go on your third one, I just want to add, a lot of people, it's good that you call that out, because if you do X, Y, and Z, and you don't get that effect, people are crushed and they're like,
They crush, they quit, they back off. They're like, see, this
yeah,
is stupid.
yeah.
That whole, the secret book is full of shit. It's like,
Don't
well,
work
no.
hard. You're not going to get what they promised you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And to that point also, and it's why I got Biggest Loser, nobody does you better than you. It's really key. When I went in for an audition with Loser, I did not get picked the first 2 times. The third time I did. The biggest difference is I remember the times I did not get picked, I had my arms crossed and I was like, you guys ready to work? Or I don't know what happened. It was like an out of body experience, like in an old school where Will Ferrell passes out during the speech, the debate, and he's like, what happened? What happened? Like, can barely remember anything because I was trying to be what I thought they wanted in order to put me on the show. And of course, they didn't pick me because it reeks when you're not yourself. It reeks when you're somebody else. And I was not Jen. Now, the time I got picked, I remember vividly, like, because we test a workout. There's cameras, there's everything. You have people come in, and it's all on the fly. And they go, okay, you've got about 20 minutes. I go, wait, are you telling me I'm going to have 2 people I've never met before come in and you give me 20 minutes to warm up, cool them down, crank a workout, build trust, create a special moment, and do like an assessment of like body injury? I was like, I'll get as far as I can go. I can't promise anything. And I wasn't trying to like blow it or be like a snot. I'm like, my priority is the people. I will do what I can. And it was my confidence in knowing what I was doing and knowing what they needed as these contestants.
Yeah.
It made it an easy choice because I was Jen for the first time in that interview room, and no one does Jen better than me.
Yeah.
And that they want that authenticity, that being real. And that goes back to Dr. Oz. I mean, so many people are scripted and planned. They're like, yeah, don't you love it? And it's because we know it's a commodity that we can't get more of, just like time, just like energy. So it's like, you better rock who you are and what you got.
Yeah.
And then I think the only other thing I was going to say is be a pleasure to work with. You could be a plumber or you could be on TV, but people will pay more and work with you more often because they like being around you.
Yeah.
What's the point? If you're a disaster, if you're cranky, if you're rude, if you're demanding, see you, diva plumber. I'll get another one. You know what I mean? Like you are replaceable at the end of the day. And that's the thing. It's like, so don't spoil how great you are by not being a pleasure to be around. Because also what's going to happen is when I'm learning something new, like I know that I'm going to start my podcast. I've been talking about it for over a year. It scares the bejesus out of me. I have no idea why. You doing this has really inspired me. But to me, if you're a pleasure to be around, which I'd like to think that I am, people overlook mistakes. They overlook shortcomings because they like you, and then they start rooting for you. So those are I guess those are the most basic, and it sounds funny because it's not like specific to TV, but what paths are meant for you will open for you if you do those things. I guarantee it.
Yeah. What comes around goes around. We just had a guy leave Reebok.
Timberlake, smart man.
We just had a guy leave Reebok, and he's working for another kind of fitness powerhouse, not an apparel or brand company. And he's reaching back out to Reebok or his connections, and he's doing really well because he was liked. He was a pleasure to work with at Reebok. Yeah. And so if he wasn't, I was thinking about this, like if he wasn't, people would just be like, oh, nope, delete that email,
Never saw it.
Yeah.
Silence the ringer for sure.
So it's he may have not even planned that, that he was.
Well, that's rule number 1. It can't be cause and effect, because if he had, it would reek, and then we would still delete his email.
Yeah. Okay, last one, and then I'll wrap it up. If you had 3 rules to life, like what are the 3 rules Jen lives by every day, in kind of like shortened bullet points?
Okay, and I this is proof, because I know you would make me do that. I have 3 short bullet points right there.
They are.
So one I've actually recently added to my repertoire, but For the first and foremost, though, what is my mainstay? Kindness is free. You know, kindness, which is also the same as patience. Okay, it's free. I don't know why people wake up offended. I don't know why there's a separation of mine and yours. Be kind. Slow down. I don't care if you are the president or the guy, my security guy in my building. You treat people the same. You treat them with kindness. It will take you so far, and you'll feel like your life will be, I mean, and I'm not saying career, but like your richness of your life, it's everything. Number two, this is actually something, I think I actually wrote it on my phone. And this was my new one I've added. Putting up your defenses actually inspires others to put up their offenses. And it's funny because being in this industry, I find myself I've hardened a little bit, and I have gotten more defensive, defending my point of view, defending my intention, defending what I meant by that Instagram post. And when your defenses go up, people's offenses meet you. And it's interesting that, because when I find people kind of being more aggressive or offensive, right, toward me, I'm like, what did I do? You know, and it was just a really big aha moment. It's like, I can diffuse that by handling myself better in scenarios and not getting defensive. So that was the big one for me. And I'm still trying to kind of integrate that. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I think of it as almost like I say I'm sorry a lot. And the way I heard that is, you don't have to say sorry every time. You be not necessarily defensive, but I think this is kind of what you mean is like, you did what you did for a reason, or you're saying what you're saying, or making that stand for a reason.
Yeah.
Almost like hold your ground or stand up for what you believe in. You don't have to be.
Yeah, it's like hold your ground, but you don't have to do it defensively. Like, what do you know? I'm it's like, it's a different form of communicating your point of view. And I find that then there's no immature, and by backing off from being defensive and being more standing your ground with information, a different way of communicating it, I find that people are less likely to misinterpret your intention. You know, is a great thing. Like, the key to communication is, it's not so much saying something the way I mean it, but saying it in a way I know you'll hear it the way it's intended.
Yeah, and not only information, but your self-respect. And in today's society, you see, you know, women coming forward and, you know, this Me Too movement, and it's, you know, they're not being defensive. They're just standing their ground for self-respect and self-morals. And so what's happening now is, you know, you're seeing like in your kind of situation, the offense, it's like now everyone is being held accountable. They're having to rise and treat everyone with respect and the way people should be respected, and, you know, giving.
Right, exactly. So instead of this being this combative argument, we're now seeing eye to eye and moving forward better than we were before.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like it.
I know it's a weird concept, and like I almost didn't want to say it tonight, and I thought, no, I feel like I want to get it out there because I feel like even you can help me understand what it means to me more. But I was like, think about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Well, no, yeah. If these women wouldn't have defended their rights and their more, you know, their themselves as a human being,
treatment,
then this, I guess the rest of the world wouldn't have been offensive of trying to like or get on offensive. Like, we need to get better as a society. So thank you to them.
There's so many layers to it, but that's something that to me makes me a better human. Like, in small ways and in big ways. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
And I'm sure if one extra person watches this video, I'm sure they'll hear it differently, but it will touch them in a different manner.
For sure. I mean, look at, we've already spent 3 minutes on just like. Brrr.
Okay, your third one.
This third one, I actually have to give credit to Kendrick Lamar because it's funny. I think people assume that once, like, I mean, the first word you said about me, I'm a fitness icon. And I was like, wow, cool. Andrew thinks I'm an icon, right? And, but no matter how far you go in your career, you still have more to do, more to grow, more to learn. I mean, frick, Dwayne Johnson is still, he's the same as me, he's the same as you, he's the same as anybody, furthering, advancing as a human, right? Learning more, doing more, affecting more, impacting more. And in the end of Defiant Ones, Kendrick Lamar's advice was treat every opportunity like it's your first one. And it really impacted me because I thought, am I treating my opportunities like the first one? Or am I operating with expectation? Am I operating with, well, look haven't you seen what I've done? Don't you know? Don't you know I'm a fitness icon? What, just let's go, and it changes the way people work with you, present opportunities or not, right? And I thought, pause. And I remember I started crying. I go, remember back to my first day on set of Biggest Loser. Remember what that felt like. Remember the work ethic. Remember that unwavering passion to give all, give my best, do it right, be morally sound, like everything. And I'm like, am I taking that woman into every opportunity? And I thought, I need to make sure that I am, because I don't know if I have been fully,
Yeah, I think you have. When you say that, and I think about your situation, because I know you fairly well.
Yeah.
You've done a great job of jumping, not staying on one parallel path and getting complacent. So, meaning, the reality Biggest Loser kind of path. You, in a way, switched total gears and are now on this sort of talk show, which takes a whole different set of skills.
Yep.
It's a whole different ball game.
Yep.
And I think and it goes back to this cliche of like, you only grow outside of your comfort zone and this and that, happiness is, just whatever. If you force yourself into uncomfortable situations to learn something new, I think it keeps you humble, and you almost have to treat it like it's your first opportunity, because
totally, because the easy reaction is, oh, this is hard, this is uncomfortable, I'm the star of my other show, why am I even doing this? And you start to build resentment, you start to build a narrative of why you're too good to continue to learn. Well, because it's uncomfortable. I don't want to face that. I don't want to face it's, it's uncomfortable this fall when I've read prompter and I've screwed it up. And I'm like, so that's what I'm saying. Treat it like it's your first one, because day one of Biggest Loser, day one in this business, the attitude was different than it is now. And I want to make sure that wherever you guys are at and what you're doing, you feel it when someone starts to check out. You feel it when something becomes an expectation versus a willing contribution because that's what's right, or that's what the team deserves in that movie set or show set or Reebok office or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, to me, that I never want to feel above the job or the work, because it's never just me. And the moment you do that, you separate. And again, it comes down to the way people then respond to you. And it's really also easy to accidentally kind of isolate yourself in your own system of thinking that really doesn't benefit you.
Yeah. I love that one. I love it.
I know, it's a good one for me.
There's a lot of layers to that one.
I mean, like, not to be weird. I mean, I even feel it's funny. I was at a friend of mine's house, Adam Bornstein, and we had dinner the other night. And there was a random gal there that he was friends with him and his wife. And he's like, oh, my friend. He's like, oh, my friend Jen. But then she realized, she's like, oh, Jen Widerstrom, you have whatever followers on Instagram. And suddenly she became very excited and very interested in me. And I'm like, well, it's just Instagram, right? But ironically, in another circle where I'm sitting with someone that has 1 million whatever followers and 1 million this followers, and I only have my 250,000, I became less important in the conversation. They're like, oh, you know what I mean? There became a status level, and it's like suddenly, just because I have 1 million followers, do I have to not appreciate every single person that follows me? It's the same thing of like, treat that first opportunity like that, any opportunity like your first one. Treat any fan, any follower like it's your first one. Not as a benchmark of status, but as a human that genuinely wants to connect with you. So it's funny how that, I mean, it can go in all these random directions. This was probably the worst tangent of the evening. So sorry, but you know what I mean? Like you have to treat it like it's number one. I mean, you know, like, because that's what's special. That's what's game changing.
Well, I appreciate that. I think we'll see if this turns out well, and I'm definitely learning something new every time. So I appreciate you helping me. And if I can be your test dummy on your podcast, I don't know when you're starting it. I haven't even heard that. You just dropped that bomb on me.
Because that's why, listen, thoughts become things. And if I tell you, you will keep me accountable. I haven't told anybody because I've been scared. So I was smart enough to keep out of reach for people. But that's why I'm telling you, I'm freaked out about it.
Don't call it a podcast. Just kind of start talking to people and kind of capturing it on camera. But
I have to have a camera. Can't I just do like a radio?
You could do all kind of things.
A lot of my friends say I have a face for radio, so I figured to stick with it.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get back to work.
Oh shoot!
I appreciate your time.
This was fun. Hold on, I'm gonna make sure I take a. Hold on, smile at the camera. I'm gonna take a picture of us. Ready? 1, 2, cheese. Okay, got it.